from a Newcastle perspective, Newcastle getting to the final of a cup competition for the first time in a long time since the 90s is a, is it 2000 they last qualified? Or 99 actually,
99.
when United won the treble for the FA Cup final. It felt significant. And we've said a few times that Newcastle seem well ahead of schedule from what we were saying. They could potentially be top 4 in the Premier League. It looks very likely now, doesn't it? But their shortcomings were still on show, I think, against a team like United. You saw the team that Newcastle had out there. Callum Wilson is not really a top 4 kind of striker, is he? He's good, but he has his limitations. Off the bench, Newcastle were so far behind what United had to bring on. It's a stark contrast between two teams that are only a place apart in the Premier League. So what do Newcastle take from this? Is this just a bonus getting to the final?
I think it's a bit of a wake-up call. I'm not going to lie. I don't think it's a given that Newcastle get top 4. I don't think they will now. I'm pretty confident Spurs will catch them. Well, they're already above them now, Spurs, aren't they? And I'm pretty sure that a couple of other teams might do the same. Their form lately has been really, really poor. And I think the depth of their squad is starting to show. I think the fact that they didn't invest heavier in January that like a lot of us might have expected them to do to try and cement that place in the top 4 is really, really clear now. Because like you said, the depth they have and the players they brought off the bench, that's just such a poor level. They're unfortunate, obviously, that, well, I say unfortunate, it was his own doing, but not having Nick Pope for the final makes a big difference, and the confidence of your whole back line changes when you don't have the normal number 1 there. I know they've had injuries at key parts of the season, like Isak's never really got going because they've had so many injuries with him. Wilson's very injury prone. But I actually think if you look at their current form, does Miguel Almiron's form before the World Cup flatter to deceive how good Newcastle have actually been this season? Defensively, they've been really strong. But like you said, they looked like they were never going to score in this game. I don't know where a goal was going to come from in this game. And that's been pretty consistent in the league lately. They're drawing a lot of games. They had that long unbeaten run, but they're not winning a lot. And that's a problem for them. If they're looking to cement a European place this season, I think they're going to struggle. I think they should be aiming for top 6 now because of the position they're in. If you'd offered them that at the start of the season, I think they would have snapped your hand off a cup final and top 6. It's disappointing considering how safe they looked in the top 4. But I was just really surprised that we didn't see more ambition from them in January, considering the resources that they have at their disposal. I thought they were really poor in this game. I'll be totally honest. I thought they were really, really underwhelming.
Interesting you think that they'll get caught in the top 4 race as well. I kind of agree, mainly because they haven't been there before, but also the quality is so lacking, like you say. And a combination of those two things, there are teams better than them coming up behind them as well. I mean, the Premier League's so unpredictable, and Tottenham, again, is another one we'll talk about later. They're so unpredictable as well. So they might not make it either to the top 4, but who else behind them is ready to take it on? Not many. So yeah, I think they've still got a good chance, but it's in their own hands.
I think really, if you look at that Newcastle squad, if you were going to say that they were going to be in the Champions League next season, I think you could argue 6 players are probably at that standard. I think you could say Nick Pope, Botman, Trippier, Bruno Guimaraes, Alexander Isak, and then based on the form he's shown this season, maybe Miguel Almiron. But even that's not, we've not seen that always from him. I think I'd struggle to name many others that I could see playing for a top 4 side. Let's not forget, nearly a year ago, we thought Newcastle were going to get relegated.
True.
And other than the ones I've just named, the rest of the squad is exactly the same as that squad, really. So I think they're further behind than we think they are. I think the fact that the rest of the league are having such a bad year has flattered Newcastle to a degree. I don't want to discredit what they've done because I think Eddie Howe is doing a great job there and he has stabilised that defence, which really isn't the best defence in the league by some distance, but he's turned them into that. So there's definitely potential within Newcastle, but I think it's probably a season too early for them right now. I think they need a bit more investment to kick on really to where we expect them to be.
European qualification is not out of the question, though. I think that's still a massive achievement for them, and a cup final as well. Not a bad take. That, like you say, they've taken that at the start.